Players Pick Podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chris Johnson.
Episode number 24 with my homegirl, Sydney Ellen. She's a music educator, a classic rock queen. We talk about kindness and preparation and how they're almost the same thing. You should check out her music on the Players Pick Podcast playlist on Spotify. Hi, Sydney.
Hi.
Thanks for coming over and hanging out with me.
Yeah, thanks. This is great. I'm excited.
And you're, as we were talking before, like you're really into, very deep into like music education.
Oh, yeah. Music education and just reminding myself where I started.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So like in the sense of like starting to play guitar.
Yeah.
And those early years, so you teach a lot of kids, it sounds like.
Yeah, a lot of kids. I mean, I teach all ages, from ages 4 to, throwing out a number, 67, something like that. And because I think anybody can play guitar. But yeah, so I'm just interested in just how, excited I was when I was younger and seeing that in, somebody just starting the guitar and seeing the magic that the guitar has. It's been awesome to see. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And you have you run a business,
yeah.
And you have 2 locations. Where are the locations?
We're in Burbank, and then also we're in Orange as well. And but it's really great. But I do also, a lot of online stuff, and you can, there's always, online video chat that everyone kind of calls me apart, and all that.
Oh, so you do online lessons as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's the name of your brick and mortar places in?
We are Guitar Ninjas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we're Guitar Ninjas. And yeah, so we are based on, kind of on a pick system. We go from white pick all the way up to black. And so as you learn a couple songs, we move forward and get to green pick and orange pick and so on. And obviously when you're at black, you have this kind of broad understanding of chords and soloing and, improvisation. And we try to just give you all these skills and pack them all into one kind of program. So, yeah, it's nice.
I'm so hyped that you use the pick system right now. I'm like,
the pick system.
You're in the right place. That is so cool. Do you have you read that book, Zen Guitar?
Oh, yes.
Isn't it so good?
Yes, multiple times.
Do you have copies of it at this place, like for the kids to buy?
Yes, well, yes, we have all sorts of books for them to read and kind of get inspired. But yeah, Zen Guitar I've read multiple times. I should probably read it again because I'm at a different place in my life,
Same.
And when I was reading it, I was very, I'm always learning, but I was at the very beginning stages of just like exploration and all of that. And so, yeah, I found it very just grounding, because at the time, as as well, like, there's a lot of competition and people can be kind of, I don't know the right word, but not very kind, you could say, because you're also a guitar player. So, and I got that growing up and being the only girl in guitar class too. And so it kind of grounds you and you realize, hey, look, this isn't a competition. I mean, you're fighting against yourself, but other than that, you're here to just learn and learn again and learn again and learn again. And, the white belt is always there. Even if you're at black, you're always at white belt. So I thought it kind of grounded me, that book. And you definitely made me want to read it again just now.
Me too. Well, me too. And it's funny that it hasn't come up yet, that this is the first time it's come up on the podcast that I know of. And it's definitely like one of my all-time top 5 or top 10 favorite books. And because of those exact reasons, in the sense that it doesn't give you any actual lessons about how to like hold the guitar or how to do anything, but it's so invaluable in a perspective on how to approach the concept of being a guitarist or a musician at all, or life, and how it's not separate from the life things. And
yeah. And that's the same approach I take towards teaching is, I'm teaching you how to play the guitar, but at the same time, I'm teaching you, how to deal when you make a mistake. Do you just sit there and wallow in your mistake, or do you move on, move on with the song kind of thing. So I like to think, I'm teaching that, but I also try to apply it to like, hey, look, you know, this can be applied to other things, or if you decide to do something else with your life, apply these techniques from guitar as well. So I think Zen guitar actually, you know, it kind of connects that as like, even if you don't play guitar, read it and see if you can connect it to something else.
For sure. All those quotes that are in there, and like the little Philip Toshio Sudo, that's the author now, like just came to me. He wrote a few other little books that were never as big as that one, but then
really?
he passed away. I can't remember how long ago it's been. It might have been, I think he was still alive when I found the book, but then it was like maybe like 5 or 6 or I don't know, 10 years or something after that or whatever, that I found out that he passed away. But so I've been reading that book, gosh, I don't know, maybe for 20 years or something like that.
Great.
It's a long time. Like, and I've
good.
given a bunch of them away to friends, and like I had a few guitar students when I was living in Seattle, so I was like, oh man, get this, kid.
You gotta get it.
Gotta get it.
Yeah.
Just keep it by your side. Read it like every time you come back around to it and it just pops up, just like open it up, because it's one of those books that you don't have to read it from the beginning, although that is amazing and it's a great read from start to finish, but it's one of those things where you can kind of just flip it open. And like, I'm getting my lesson today.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure I have. If I open up mine, I've got a bunch of highlighted stuff in there. I'm
cool.
absolutely sure. I don't know, I probably highlight too much, but yeah, the quotes in it are just great. And me coming from like a rock background and like metal and all of that, you know, going to some Zen book is very interesting. But you see the quotes and they're, you know, I'm like, these are all the guitar players I love. Like this is great.
Yeah, these are my heroes.
Yeah.
And they obviously, knowingly or unknowingly, kind of contributed to a Zen book like that, because Philip, he curated the experience of this, but and put it in a certain perspective. But you know, anybody that goes master grade with their craft tends to have a Zen quality about them, because it's a not too much, not too little. There's a way to find the flow with the energetic quality.
Yep.
You know, so
you have to, especially if you're at that level, you have to find some sort of balance. You know, especially if you get that far, because it's so hard to find the balance in general. It's very easy to just get taken over by, I don't know, drama and all of that stuff. And so, yeah, especially if you're a master of it and you've made it that far, yeah, there has to be some sort of balance.
One of my favorite concept actually is the belt thing that they used in there, where you only get one belt, right? You get a white belt, and you continue to practice, and as you practice, it soils and it goes through a yellow to a brown to a black, and then once you've soiled it so completely that you keep the same belt and you keep working until it becomes white again.
Yeah.
And I just like that concept, like was like, oh, like I still, like, you even trying to repeat it to you, it makes me go, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's kind of like a crazy sound. Like, I'm sure, you know, listening to it, we're like, what? That sounds weird, but it's so true when you are playing guitar. I've always looked at it as like, it's a lifelong thing. You know, I know some people are here to take lessons for, you know, however long through the summer or till they go to college or whatever. But for me, it's always been like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing I can learn? Because again, as we know, there's always going to be somebody above you who knows more.
Yep.
And there's always going to be somebody right under you may not know as much. And you can learn, you know, from either of them. And so it's always good to just kind of remember like, hey, I'm here to learn this for life. And it's not overwhelming, oddly enough, right?
Right.
It's cool.
That's the part of it that I think that you were alluding to in the beginning, is that it grounded you and tried to remove your focus from any type of competition, at least with other people and where they're at, because and turn it into a lifelong practice of just enjoying the thing.
Yeah.
Like enjoying the quality of having the guitar in the hand, and before even making a note, like having some sort of intention or just, you know, moving into it with high alertness in a way. Yeah. You know, so that you're present and you get to enjoy it, because like that's the thing I think that people, you know, that move into the music business or like try to make this, you know, turn into a thing for them, is they it's easy to forget that like that you start why you started. Yeah, as a young person, you might have been like, "Oh, I'm gonna be cool," or I'm, you know, guys generally like, "I will get chicks," right? Like if I hold the guitar just right and I can make a lick go wow wow, you know, whatever. But along the way, somewhere in those early formative years, we go, that feels really cool.
Yeah,
like especially when you learn like a lick from your favorite guitar or favorite song, or favorite guitarist or whatever, and you kind of have that like, there's this a point of like of achieving something, but it's not in you can learn to play the AC/DC lick, but the AC/DC lick, you know, when you're not playing it, doesn't necessarily bring you happiness or anything. It's in the moment of actually like executing it and like getting the thing to come together for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress, but like it that's what it did for me too. You know, helped me go, oh, you know, there's every possible way to play the guitar.
Yep.
All the ways exist, and this happens to be my way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it makes you happy, and I think that's, you know, that's the ultimate as far as guitar. Like, my thing is, if you walk at the door out of a lesson with me and you're happy, I've done my job. You know, if you walk out and you're kind of bummed, I didn't do something right, you know. And so that's a good lesson to kind of think of when you are playing. You know, it's to be happy, and at the end of the day, you know, no matter how much you're learning or what you're preparing for a gig or a show, you know, if you're having fun, then that's number one. But even recently, I started just writing down like things I'm grateful for, like random things, just to kind of remind myself, because it's very easy to forget. And recently I've just been like, I'm grateful, like I have the ability to play the guitar. Like, my muscles are here. I have the ability to play it. You know, nothing's hurting. That's awesome. I can wake up every day and pick up the guitar. And I'm like, that, you know, as simple as that is, you know, when you really think about it, you're like, wow, I should go play.
It's incredible. I feel very similar. I've been doing a gratitude type thing each day normally. Like, as you know, I'm really into yoga, and I really like enjoy that as well. So, guitar, being anything physical at this point, just being able to walk a couple of miles to a place that I want to go from my house, and feel totally able and not like inhibited, you know, in any way. Like I'm still like got a great healthy body that wants to go do things, and man, it's not going to always be that way. You know, that is the luxury of the moment. Like right now we have we have the luxury of so many years of experience behind us that allow us to continue to kind of mine for cool experiences through our ableness. But you know, anything can take some of that away. Almost anything at any time, right?
Right. I know it's a weird concept, and it's, you know, it's a little scary when you really think about it. And, you know, especially, you know, we drive around all day and anything can happen, but that's what I think every day. I'm like, you know what, I'm able to play. My fingers work. I can play this guitar, and I should play, you know, and enjoy it. 'Cause it's very easy to get stuck in the rut. And I've been, you know, playing for so long, it's very easy to just think, oh man, I keep playing the same licks and keep doing the same stuff. And we all get into it, all of us, no matter who you are. But it's a good kind of reminder to just think of that. But yeah,
it's awesome. So when did your relationship to a guitar pick begin? Do you remember the first couple picks that you used, or
yes,
and where you got them?
Yes, actually, that's really funny. 'Cause I found my old guitar case a while back. And I opened it up, and there were the orange Tortex picks sitting inside there.
Oh, cool.
Just a little worn away, you know. And so those were the ones, and I'm sure, I don't know why I picked them. I think somebody probably just handed them to me and said, these are the ones you should use. And I used them for a while, and then I kind of figured out, oh, you know, some are different and you can use other ones. And eventually I moved over to the Jazz 3s, and I've, you know, fallen in love with those. And so, yeah, but yeah, the Tortex ones grabbed me.
It's awesome. And how old were you when you started playing?
I was probably about 12.
Cool.
Yeah, so I was 12, but I had been playing music beforehand. I played piano and was all around music, but eventually I started coming to my piano teacher and asking to play Led Zeppelin. And they were kind of like, oh, let's not play Black Dog on the piano. So went to guitar.
What was your first guitar?
It was a Fender Squier. It was just a Strat, black and white, like, you know, and I always think about this because my family's always been like super supportive of music. Always, whenever I would say I want to do this or want to play guitar, they'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm grateful for that. I'm super grateful. And so my dad being a piano player, we didn't even know anything about guitar. I just wanted to do it. And walked into a guitar shop, and they're like, all right, pick your guitar. And I'm a kid going, huh? Like, I know nothing. They all look pretty. And so that was the one that I chose out of all of that, which I just find interesting, you know.
It is cool because you still love your Fender Strats to this day.
I still love my Fender Strats, and I wear a lot of black, and it kind of worked out.
Worked out, yeah.
Yeah, it worked out. But I just always think back, I go, man, as a guitar player, we dream about all these guitars that we want. And I'm like, Sydney, who knows? You could have picked something, you know, it was crazy, but... Yeah.
It's interesting to me because after doing so many, well, not even that many, honestly, but so many of these podcasts, it feels like a lot now. But when I get to like 100, it'll be really weird. But like it's funny that two reoccurring things usually happen, and you're not one of them. You're only one of them on the guitar. But like usually, most people that I've interviewed, like they go, "What's your first guitar pick?" And they're like, "Oh, it's like one of those Fender celluloid type, maybe the confetti looking one. Like somebody's usually had one of those things around." And almost everybody has had or started out with a Fender Stratocaster or Squier Strat copy type thing, including myself. And so, and I'm thinking about like, what is it about like the Fender Strat that all of us kids in like either the universe like plopped it into our lap, or we actually looked at it and pointed and said that's the one.
That's the one.
But not a Les Paul. Like, but not a SG. You know, I'm not saying that they're not people that get those for their first guitars. They do. I know that. But
it's interesting that you're saying that because you do hear, you know, everyone's story, and I mean, that's just the vision of the guitar. It must have been in my head like that's a guitar. And it's awesome, you know, how far Fender's gone, and it's great to just kind of see like, wow, that's the vision we all have.
Do you remember like who your first kind of like guitar hero was? Was it like a Jimmy Page, or was it?
You got it.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Right on the head?
Yeah, you got it. Well, because I had a moment, and you'll think this is great too, that I don't know what it was, because I grew up on rock music, you know, really good music, Fleetwood Mac, and all of that stuff. My family was all into it, and I enjoyed it, but nothing ever grabbed me with the guitar until I was listening to the radio one day and heard Black Dog. And for whatever reason, again, it might have just been the moment. Maybe I really needed the guitar at that time or something. And I was just drawn to it. And I heard the tones and just the energy of it. I'm like, what's this song? I went to my mom. I was like, what's this song? And she's like, it's Led Zeppelin. And I searched for the song. And of course, day one of guitar lessons, I was like, teach me Black Dog. Amazing. Which is hard to teach, you know, day one to a student. But
sure.
So it must have been, I don't know, maybe it was just the right moment at the right time. Because why didn't it catch me before? I'm sure I had heard Led Zeppelin before.
Yeah, but that's just the way it goes. You know, like we just wake up. We hear a lot. We're in contact with a lot of things throughout our life, and then we watch. Like, I find this is an interesting thing since I've been here in Hollywood. Like, because it's so dense. Like the landscape is so dense that I've walked by and driven by a ton of places that I didn't see, and then all of a sudden somebody goes, "Oh, well, you know, there's just the thing right there," and I'm like, "No, there's not." Oh, it is right there. It's like, it's because it's so dense, you don't see it necessarily, and you're focused on something else. And so, you know, like in life too, we do the same thing. You know, well, I've been alive this long and I don't know about that. You know, you're like, well, life is a really densely populated like thing where everything's competing for your attention. And then all of a sudden one day, like you just you're open to the right frequency, and Black Dog it is. Yep. And man, I wish I could just recreate that moment, because it was just an aha moment of what is this? This is insane, you know. And I fell in love with rock and roll and, you know, metal and anything heavier. Like, I just loved it. What were your first like 4 or 5 like heroes, or like did you put posters on your wall or anything? No, every teenager does. Yeah. Oh yeah, I had I had like Les Paul posters and AC/DC. You know, that was my stuff. I'm trying to think. Rolling Stones. I know it's taking me back. Lots of Zeppelin, though. You know, I'm pretty sure I laugh about it, but probably the first year I only learned Led Zeppelin songs because I was just obsessed and excited about it. You know, amazing, I had just learned guitar, and so yeah, I was very obsessed over it. But it kind of benefited me later, because now when I have to play a Zeppelin song, it's easy. You know, yeah, it's not hard to learn or anything. I'm like, oh, I know this one. So nobody's upset about seeing you play Zeppelin. Like we all want to see you play Zeppelin anyway, so it's fine. Thanks. I think we'll get by. Yes. With that, do you remember what how the Jazz 3 kind of came into your sphere? Was it like something you discovered on your own, or did you see somebody else using it, or did something inspire you, influence you?
That's a good question. I probably saw a couple of people using it.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, hey, what are those? And of course you see on it, it's got Jazz 3. And I was probably, now thinking about it, I was looking for something with a grip. Now that I'm thinking of it, because I remember I would drop my pick so often. I would have sandpaper on both sides to try to hold it to me, because I would just, maybe I got nervous at the time, and I was, you know, I would be ready for a solo and the pick would fall out.
You put actual sandpaper on your picks, or you'd cut them like?
No, like I would tape, like take little squares of sandpaper and tape them to both sides.
Whoa.
So they would stick to my hand at least. I mean, it worked okay.
No, that's
not as good as the Max Grip, but
it's one way to go.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, because I didn't even know they existed, and
right.
So, but yeah, and then I found the Max Grip. I'm like, okay, cool, and I've stuck with them ever since.
And you, I see you brought a pocket full of them here, and I see there's a couple of black. Looks like they're more like carbon fiber Max Grip Jazz 3s, and then a red one.
Yeah.
And then a Tortex Jazz 3, and then there's a couple of, I don't know what gauge those are, but they're like Tortex standard. Are those like lighter ones you said are for more acoustic for you?
Yeah, I just feel it's got kind of like a warmer sound versus a Jazz 3 on the acoustic. I mean, it sounds great, but I was like, I want something a little bit warmer when I strum, you know.
Probably a little too stiff too, huh?
Yeah, it was a little too stiff. I'm like, it doesn't just get that kind of warm sound that I want. So yeah, I mainly use those for acoustic, and plus if you're strumming a lot, it can kind of beat up your hand. So
sure,
a bigger pick would be better, but especially if you get it, if you're playing anything heavier, you want something kind of just right there.
Totally. Yeah, something that's exacting, that's like precise.
You don't have anything else in the way. It's just the pick. So
that's cool. Have you always lived in this area, or are you where are you from?
Yeah, I've always lived around here.
Okay.
You know, I've been pretty close to Hollywood and all of that, and so, I mean, it's great because there's a lot that goes on over here.
Yeah.
And when something comes up, I'm usually pretty close, so I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I mean, I've loved it over here. I mean, I love California, and it's always sunny, which is nice.
Right.
So
it is pretty sunny most of the time.
Most of the time. Yeah. Although I do love rain, so.
Do you have to travel much?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, every once in a while. I mean,
any interesting places you've been?
Nothing crazy.
No?
Nothing crazy. I mean, New York and Florida, you know, filmed a couple music videos over there, which was fun. And
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like it all. But.
Awesome. Well, in your years of playing, have you and like just in growing up, obviously, because you started when you were 12?
12,
yeah. So you're like what, 10, 12 years now, or whatever, that you've been
12
playing?
years or so, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty amazing. You must have along the way kind of come up with some sort of formula for like success around like learning material, or just like you know, coming out on top, because you're a great player at this point that like has a lot of people following you and interested in what you're doing. So like, could you share anything like on how you maybe do what you do?
Well, I have to preface that I'm like OCD and obsessive over anything, so I always am grateful for that, because I've been like, when it's time to prep for a gig, I can't stop thinking about it. So I got to get going and learn the song. So procrastination doesn't happen for me. So that's a benefit, you know, because it's, you know, easy to procrastinate on things. But
oh man, that's my middle name.
Yeah. But for me, like there's no, like, it's impossible. I just can't, you know, I just think about it too much, that I got to get going on that song. I got to get ready for the studio or whatever. I'd always have it in my head. So there's a little bit of obsessiveness over there. I call it that. It's probably not, but, and yeah, mainly I just kind of, when I learn a song, I'll break it down. I won't even touch the guitar. I'll listen to it and say, what's the form? You know, mostly verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and so on. Write it down, because there may be something funky. And then from there, then I go and learn it. Because if you're sitting there trying to figure out stuff, and you don't really know the form, it's easy to get lost, and you're wasting time. You know, you're wasting time if you're trying to figure out what's going on in there, and if it's a chorus again or what. So I usually write the form first without even touching anything on the guitar. And then, you know, I've always kind of had a good ear, so I try to figure out things by ear as best I can. It's good to kind of challenge. But Yeah.
So you write down like intro, verse, chorus, segue, and you like the notation of like just what it's going to look like in a linear fashion. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So and even if I have to write out a chart or something like that, but I've kind of learned along the years like to not waste my time sitting there just fumbling through it. As fun as that is, because we all just want to get and play the guitar, but
sure.
It's going to waste time if you are on a time crunch, so to sense. So but and then from there I'll just kind of pick it out by ear if I can, or slow down the song maybe if it's a little too fast. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just experience messing up, playing the wrong thing, learning from it, and looking back at a recording and realizing I didn't like it, and so on. So it might just be experience. But
so do you have like a pretty detailed like schedule or planner of some kind? Like, are you like, do you have like a digital planner that is like all like with all these notes and?
Yeah, I usually like a planner just because. I don't know. I get pretty bummed out if I forget something. Sure. Like if somebody's like, "Oh man, you forgot to learn this song. It's in the set," or, "We have a session today." I'd feel terrible because that's somebody else's time that I need to be respectful of, and it's wasteful. So I definitely try to stick to my planner, but I laugh because I don't normally forget things.
No, it's great. That's great. It's probably because you're so interested in not forgetting.
Yeah.
And that the fact that you probably write it down in multiple, you might actually physically write it down, it sounds like, and then you probably also entered into a planner or a schedule, like a digital format that might remind you that things are going to happen.
Things are going to happen, yeah.
Yeah. It is, which is interesting because we live in the day and age where we can do this in so many different ways, yet... and I do it to a degree. I'm not completely total Mr. Procrastination, but
I know you are.
but because I definitely get a lot of things done. But I also realize for myself that if my life feels too scheduled, then I almost I want to bail on things. Mm-hmm. It's a really funny, it's a weird, delicate balance. Like if I feel too scheduled, I'm like, okay, something's got to come out of the schedule. I don't have enough time to like just sit and look at a wall or go for a walk with the dog. Like I'm really gonna get
I love that.
Weird,
I should learn that.
Well, and I think it's come from having kind of some mental and physical kind of adverse reactions to having feeling crowded. It's almost like a feeling of. What is it, like claustrophobia?
Claustrophobia. Yeah, like, I understand that.
Like things are like closing in almost, and you're like, oh God, I can't. I stop being able to like even make the words
right.
To like, and when that shows up, I'm like, oh God, we got to kick some things off the schedule, or I need to like shut down now to go do self-care or go to a yoga class or go take a nap or lay down or something so that I can let the anxiety that wells up, even looking at my schedule, pass. If I can let it pass and then look at it again later with not seeing the whole thing, it's like if I look at it in a section, no problem. This next 3 days, I can totally do the next 3 days. And then when we get to the end of that, I'll look at the next 3 days.
Whoa, that's interesting you say that. I'm the exact opposite.
Really? You got to see it all?
I'm the exact opposite. Like if I'm not doing something, as great as it is, I tend to overwork myself. So I do take advantage of playing video games every once in a while. Yes, of course. But still, when I don't have anything going on, I'll get anxiety. I'll start to think of just stuff that doesn't matter, all sorts of stuff that I'm like, what are you thinking? And that's something, I guess I've never talked about it, but I've had it, my whole life, always just overthinking. And so when I'm busy, then everything's cool because I got no time to think about what if. I got no time to think about what could happen or whatever. I just have to go to the next thing or, do the next thing that's on my list. And when you're done, then you're done. So it's very interesting that you say that, but I work quite differently than a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit too that if it's too empty, I'll have a different kind of reaction. But it's usually more like, okay, so what am I going to put in the spot? I'm like all excited. It's almost like decorating a house. Like it's like decorating. If I can just put enough things in there, but not feel like it's too crunched for space or time.
Right.
I guess I think in some ways I've just started to try to bake in like rest and space for me to think about the thing that had just happened too, because I think it's the older I've gotten, the more being a yoga teacher and trying to like be better at vocalizing and holding a container and space for other people. And I think some of that has like come into my way of being now too, like where I used to like fill up every conceivable space, and then I would like have to shut down. I know I couldn't sustain it is what I'm trying to say, right? Like that was the thing. And then so now to preserve my ability to do the thing, it has to be some sort of balance in the middle where like, okay, I need enough things in the schedule that make me go, oh yeah, I got these things coming up. That's great. I'm gonna work on those things because I know they're coming up. But if it feels like a lot of stuff, I'm just like, oh no, I don't know. It feels like the end of the world.
Yeah.
With it's too many things.
I totally get that.
So
I get it though, because at the same time too, me, where I'm like day after day, I'm like, okay, what's the next thing? You get tired. By the end of it, you're like, it's Saturday. Shouldn't be doing all this.
Right.
Or not saying that everybody should take Saturday off, but just in general, like you should also enjoy. I haven't been to the beach yet. I need to be at the beach.
Totally.
It's summer, and that says something.
You kind of mentioned earlier that you schedule time off. Like, was it Wednesdays that you like to not do anything?
I try to not do anything crazy schedule. It gives me time to, as many songwriters know, if you're all, crunched with your schedule and running around, you won't be able to write a song. It's not going to sound too good, I mean, unless you work that way. But for me, it doesn't work that way. So Wednesdays I try to go, okay, this is my day if I'm working on a tune or if I'm, filming a guitar video or anything, like this is my day that there's no pressure to kind of go through that. So I try to pick somewhere in the middle. That way, once you're starting to go crazy, like on a Tuesday or Thursday or something, you have kind of at least a break.
And
coming up.
Do you take any weekend days off, or is like a Saturday or Sunday like a thing too? Or
I try to. Usually, like Fridays, I'm pretty over it.
Yeah, okay.
So it kind of ends up that way.
Got it.
But yeah, so I think it's good too, because like you said, you have to have a bit of balance, or else it doesn't go well.
No. Do you were you raised just secular, or did you raised like with a faith of any kind, or?
Well, I guess this isn't like out, but I was raised Jewish. And so I grew up, in a Jewish family. And then as I got older, everyone kind of was, just because kind of finding their own way. And I, being very anxiety driven, I guess at the time when I was, around 17 or so, really stuff started to kind of hit me of like, what do you want to do? And for me, I was like, music is all I know. So I'm not going to do anything else. And it can be very kind of pressure, as I teach kids too, I see it all the time. There's a lot of pressure put on everybody. And that's where I kind of found the idea of Zen and, okay, you're in the moment. There's nothing else. You can't be thinking about what just happened. You can't be thinking about what's coming up. And that was a weird, I haven't mastered it, of course, but
no one really has. That's okay.
But the idea of it, and I read at the time it was The Power of Now, and that really, for whatever reason, it clicked. It clicked with me, and I was able to go, okay, everything will turn out all right. And I take that now. When stuff is going crazy, I go, you know what? It'll probably turn out okay. Just let it happen. So but the Power of Now really just kind of helped me just calm all of those just thoughts of what could happen, or what could happen tomorrow. Who knows? No one knows. So you just kind of have to roll with it.
I bet that does actually help a person like yourself that likes to be scheduled and likes to be prepared for all the things.
Prepared for anything. Yeah.
So then to have to read and study about the inevitability of things being out of your control, and like kind of and getting into that place of being able to accept things as they come, versus like, no, that's not how it's scheduled. It's scheduled to be like this.
Yeah.
I was expecting that. Like, because we all find a way to be like overly expecting at times, unfortunately, right? Like, we're like, no, that's not how I planned it. Yeah. And as artists, as people that create, this is a really interesting balance I find with different artists and musicians through all these conversations is some of us are very clear about what it is that we need to see in our project or what we need to hear, right? And then we become kind of slaves to make that manifest in a weird way. And some people have a great relationship to that process. And they're like, hey, it just takes as long as it's going to take, and I have to get the thing that I have to get. Where and then that's like maybe one extreme, and the other extreme is like, Well, I don't know exactly how it's going to be, but I've got a piece of it, and I know that it's going to feel something like this.
Yeah.
And so I just need to get the right people together so that we can have the thing, and they'll add the stuff, and then it'll just take shape.
Yeah.
Like and they're almost as excited. And this is kind of the camp I'm in. More excited is like almost more excited for when it comes out, or as excited for when it comes out as everybody else. Because like, I don't know.
It'll be
It'll be what it is.
It'll be what it is, which is cool. Yeah, and that for me too, because as you know, I've worked with one of my very best friends. Her name's Moxie, and I've always called her. And I'm not a singer. I go, hey, can you sing on my song? I always have kind of this elaborate thought of what the song should be, and she's always very nicely said yes and supported me. But on this EP that I'm working on, I'm bringing in some other singers and just to kind of get out of the comfort zone, and I really don't know what it's going to be, and I think that's cool. It's and the name, I chose the name Imperfect because I'm such a perfectionist that I need to let it be imperfect, and that's okay. And that's but it's freeing in a sense. Me talking about it right now, I'm like, I'm set to go in the studio in a couple days. I'm like, who knows what'll happen, but I'm sure I'll be happy with it in the end. So
right, and you're going in with a skeleton. You have songs written. It's not like you're going in
with nothing.
to write new material like that. Like that's like with the big bands. Like, oh, we're gonna go into the studio, and we don't even have any. We have like one or two songs. Like can you imagine? I'm still imagining the concept of being so there in that moment where you're like, we're gonna get a really nice studio, lock it out for like 4 months, and just write material in the studio. Like, what an interesting concept to me.
Right?
Like,
I don't have that luxury.
I know. Very few of us do, but we all have home studios that we write in, right? We've modulated, but there's still big bands that do that. I watched Tool do it. I watched them go in, like, having a bunch of things. They're like, yeah, we got all these great ideas of how it's supposed to kind of turn out, and then it just modulates while they stay in the studio long enough that, like, they just keep jamming out the same ideas until... Like, okay, that was closest to the thing that we want. Now let's go,
Whoa,
and
trippy.
Yeah, it is a really interesting thing, but that's cool that you're, it's to tell me more about the EP. Like, you've got how many songs?
I'm planning for 5.
Okay.
5 songs. That's what I'm planning for. But and I'm hoping to be done recording by December. So that's my hope. Obviously, if we get there and there's 4 songs, okay, fine. But we'll roll with it because I know everyone's been looking forward to it. But yeah,
Sure.
it's called Imperfect, and it'll be my first solo EP, and I'm excited because I brought in a couple people to work on it with me, and mainly I'm excited because at heart I am a songwriter. That's what I figured out. I remember even though I was loving Led Zeppelin, I remember the second I learned 5 chords, I was putting them together into some sort of a song, and that was exciting to me. So to me, funny enough, when you go in the studio, because I've done all this planning, I've done all this prep and whatnot, and when I'm in the studio and it all starts to come together, that's where I'm at my ultimate, like, this is awesome moment. Because you realize, oh man, all the hours I put and all of the redos of songs, you come and finally you start to hear it, in the studio and really pick up, and you're hearing the vocals and everything fit the way you want it. That's awesome to me.
Magic.
Yeah, it's magic. And it's just like, I could do that till the day I die. And so bottom line, I'm a songwriter, but I laugh because I've written, elsewhere and in bands and all sorts of stuff. So this being my first EP is exciting,
Dude, congratulations. By the way, I just want to step back, and that's a good place to step off and kind of take a side note, is that this is your first EP.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and you've already got a substantial following. You've been doing such a good job on the social medias and like just doing great little snippets of things that people really, and I think above all, you have a great guitar collection apparently, because like I think more than anything, like I'm like, what guitar is she holding today? Oh my God, she's got a Fender, or she's got this Gibson, or she's got that, you obviously do some stuff with Fender and some stuff with Gibson too, but like it's great that you don't feel like beholden to either one of them 100%, and you can kind of play what you want to play, right?
Yeah, I think I found the connection obviously on social media. I look back and I think it's all to connect. I'm connecting with my family who's not with me. I'm connecting with everybody and meeting new people. And I think what is centered around every musician or guitar player is we all just love gear and guitars and stuff that looks really beautiful and stuff that, our favorite guitar players have played. And we all just kind of, for lack of a better word, geek out over it. And so I've kind of found that to be very awesome. So I'm always posting like, what do you think of this guitar? Or, what guitar should I choose today? Because I find it really, fun that we can all connect over that.
Totally.
No matter what age, whether I'm teaching you and you're 10 years old, or we've known each other forever, or even if you don't play guitar, everyone always has an opinion on what guitar should be used, or why, or which one's more beautiful, or whatever. And so I don't know, I've always just like found that awesome to see, and I enjoy just kind of seeing everyone's thoughts and why certain pickups this, or why this amp, because it's all just subjective at the end of the day,
But it's nice to know what other people are doing, and we're always kind of comparing, contrasting. So-and-so got this tone on this track at this era through that amp with this pedal and this type of pick and these type of strings. And it's like, yeah. Well, that guitar he had is a one-off. You can never get that guitar. So it's like, good luck. You'll never quite get the thing, right? Or it's like trying to get a Jerry Garcia thing, or because like people that you follow the rabbit hole down to try to kind of unearth like the tone, right? And then which is a funny thing that we all do because we're all nerdy about it, but then we also find out that like for example, it took me a while to really really believe it, but like one of my first guitar teachers was classically said, you can get all the gear that Marty Friedman has, you're not going to sound like him. You're just not. Like unless you study every last thing that he does and incorporate every last thing, you're not going to sound like him.
And then you're not yourself at the end of the day, too.
Right.
Me coming from, a Jimmy Page background, like, of course we all fall into that. And I started to kind of write the similar style and phrasing and all of that. But, at the end of the day, this is why I was like, I just got to do this EP because it's got to be me. I got to feel authentic at the end of the day and feel like these are my songs that I'm sharing, and coming back to like, anxiety and all of that. A lot of these songs will just kind of portray that. Because nobody knows that stuff. I don't really talk about it. So I think it's important to just kind of get that out. And, and a lot of the songs, a couple of them that I have out now, they're all just positive message, positive message, just something you can take away, something singable. That's all I'm looking for. Because at the end of the day, if you don't care what the experience is, at least you could sing along,
Sure. That's great. I do like the couple tunes you have up right now. They like I was recognizing that as well when I was going back through your stuff. I was like, oh yeah, like positive person, like you're on the like the high note of rock. Like
cool.
You're looking to share good vibes.
Yeah,
with your passion.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to. I think nothing beats just in your car you turn up the sound really loud and you're just rocking out to a song. I think the energy that has, when you're driving down the freeway is cool. So I'm like, yeah, these, a couple of these songs, I want them to just be driving songs or something you could just rock out to. And, I don't know, it's very simple, so to say, but a lot of times it's tough too. This being my first EP, I'm like, what do I even want to say? What do I want? Like, that's such a weird concept because I've just spent, I did write lyrics, but I've just always been riffs, guitar, this is what the chorus will sound like. And now I have to go, what do I want this song to say?
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it's something that's not even true. It's just been thought up or imagined, which I think is great too. But
it's part of being an artist.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. And I try not to have a lot of drama and nothing terrible has happened in my life really recently. So I'm always like, well, let's do something positive.
That's good. Yeah. Because
it's good.
You're passing along where you're at. Your life is pretty good for you, right?
Yeah. So, I'm happy. I'm not complaining about anything. I mean, I'm sure there are stuff to complain about, but I can't. So it's not worth complaining.
It's too bad because if you could complain a little bit more, Sydney, you'd probably sell a lot more records.
If I could complain about,
I think you need to find something to be mad about.
How I should go practice more, probably.
Damn it. Yeah. That's I was speaking not necessarily negative, but I'm just curious. Like, since you are a Gibson fan too, like, how do you feel about like the recent like Play Authentic Gibson debacle? Did you follow that at all?
No, I haven't really followed it. I don't really have any thoughts. I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't really keep up with that. I try not to be, it's all about the guitar. The guitar is the music. That's kind of what I pay attention to.
Yeah, it's all good. I just know there's I just saw a fluff, like Ryan Bruce. He reviews gear on YouTube or whatever, and he just like because everybody's been down on Gibson because the new CEO has kind of said some things and they just sued a few people or are put into litigation or whatever, and then they made a big spectacle at Summer NAMM, and it's like the people are divided. Everybody wants to still love the Gibson like now because it's the legacy brand that we all like know and love. But then everybody wants to like talk trash because like there's a lot of other guitar makers that would like to incite people to talk trash, and I just saw Fluff put up a video the other day, and he's just like, hey, actually, I found this Gibson Les Paul, this 2019 standard that I really love, and I bought it. But I was really afraid to like tell you guys that I bought it because everybody's gonna talk trash about like this scenario, and I just thought it was kind of interesting, like, to see and hear how people are, it's a thing in the mind, it's like, and it's a trend to want to jump on a train to say negative things here or inflate in another way. But
yeah, it's very easy, especially with the internet, to get caught on that. When somebody puts a comment, somebody else also puts a comment. Oh yeah, whatever. I mean, you and I both get it, and I've been at the center of it too. And it's like, why? I heard, I think it was Jay Shetty who said this. He said, it's interesting that somebody can go on the internet, consume something, and then type something negative about it. Like, you can go on there and you comprehend what this video is about or whatever, and then your first instinct is to just bash it.
Yeah.
Or say something negative, or say something just, just because this girl also plays guitar, like, you can just spew something that's not great. Like,
oh, man.
Here I am, and all of these other women are posting amazing guitar videos, and somebody just wants to say something about how we're not plugged in or something. Why? Right. Why not say cool lick, great, and move on, or don't say anything? It's just, it's interesting to me, and I mean, again, that goes inward of, you must not feel pretty great if that's your first instinct to comment that. Oh,
see, that's a good insight for you. For you, like, I was going to ask you, like, it must be tough.
It's hard.
It's tough for you because, especially a female in a quote unquote man's world of guitar, like dominated by male, guitar heroes. Mm-hmm. Although at this point we have so many great women. We have so many great women that it's a really weird thing to still say that, but like, it is still probably 10-1 in a weird way. Like, I mean, in the grand scheme, I don't know. I mean, at least you women are more visible now than ever.
We really are.
So that's
looking back, and I know I'm very young, but looking back, it's every year I just meet somebody else who's playing, and it's awesome. And every year when we meet up at NAMM, it's just very cool because everyone's so just chill, and everyone has their own style. You can totally see it, like, and everyone just has their different style, and it's cool that we're all here just supporting. But it is hard, there are comments that I get, and it's like, why does it matter? Like, one of them, I mean, I'm going to say it was about my eyebrows, and it's like, I'm Russian. Okay, I have eyebrows, thanks. And so, I mean, why?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
It's so weird.
It's just so interesting, and so it's hard too being on the other end. And I just tell myself, because teaching kids and stuff, I get asked, like, what do you do when somebody comments? And I just think, social media, that's like your circle. That's your circle. And anything that's just going to bring you down, get it out of there. Delete, block, whatever, Get it out of there. That's your circle. And if somebody comments that you don't like something, just fume about it for 30 seconds and then be done. It's not worth your time.
Yeah.
You're doing there's a good chance you're above it.
It's a good attitude.
And
I'll say, returning to the thing you said, you mentioned a minute ago, is that person that's making the negative comment must not feel very good.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first thing, the way that they're going to react to somebody just putting themselves out there for art, and that's kind of an interesting psychological place that we're at, like it's so thankful that there's all these platforms for female players to be finally exalted in a way, and like be more seen than ever. But with the more access comes more criticism, comes more all the things, right? You get more of everything. You don't just get more of like, oh yeah, everything's great. that would be interesting if we could do it that way, but we can't. Like, and then there's just you probably bump into the prevailing kind of, there's just like a trickle down effect in people and how they view women in the world too, that kind of comes into their commenting and how they see things, because they're like, oh, just because she's a girl, like that's why she's getting paid. I mean, her licks are, I mean, whatever. But if it was me, if I was a guy playing the same stuff, we wouldn't get the attention. And it's like, well, then I don't know what your argument is here, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's like she's playing great, and I don't know. Either you like it or you don't.
Or you don't.
You don't have to participate if you don't want to participate.
Yeah, and you move on or you unfollow me. Like it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But it's very interesting, and it is hard to take it in sometimes when you get a comment and you're just like, sometimes you do start to think about internalize it and think like, well, maybe I could have played better or something like that. And so, but you have to think, it's your circle.
I think criticism is an interesting thing too. Like, I think it's not all bad, right? Because like,
it's
I think
not all bad.
Yeah, and it's just on the internet, it can be hard to take and hard to understand where somebody's coming from, because there are some very genuine people saying genuine things that don't come across that way necessarily, because they're either unaware of how to make it sound more of the way, or it's just a kind of a spur of the moment type of thing. But something that was pointed out to me a while back that I really liked, and I still try to practice, is, what about this could be true? Okay, right. So like something in person, online, anywhere, criticism of your art, of what you did or what you said or how you look. Interesting. What about this could be true? Oh, anyway, the rest of it with grain of salt. Just like, then let it go.
Yeah.
But then let it go. It's like, it's just because I have found a lot of little interesting little nuggets of like wisdom along the way. Because sometimes these like trolls of sorts will say something, and there's just this little tiny nugget of truth in the thing that they said.
Right.
That you're like, oh, well, there's a little thing okay. That's interesting feedback. I'm not going to get like wrapped up and like and beat myself up over it. But that's been noted. Yeah. Okay, like so next time, like I might choose a different color or whatever it is,
Yep.
But not to the point of self-degradation, and not to the point of like of feeding them with, well, you know why I did it, blah blah blah, and like trying to get into a conversation with them, right?
I definitely try not to, because I don't, anything on the internet can come across as, I don't want to be looked at as somebody thinks I'm mean or I'm going to be rude when I see you. I'm very nice, I'm chill. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't mean to call people out, but like I also got a comment too on my national anthem video, and with the national anthem, you can't stray from that. Or in my opinion, you shouldn't, because you need to be respectful. And so on the guitar, as you know, you can go crazy, Zakk Wylde or whatever with it. And
totally,
I chose not to. I said, hey, I'm going to do this in the original key and just keep it simple, do a couple things. And some people didn't like that because they thought it was boring.
It was too conservative.
Too boring. You're on the guitar. And I said, hey, look, I mean, I know I could have done it, but I'm not Zakk Wylde, and I know that. I'm not Zakk Wylde, so I'm not gonna go do.
No one is except for that dude.
Right?
Like it's one of a kind.
Right, and so I'm not gonna go crazy with that, because guess what? You would have come back to me and said, "Great job trying to do that,"
right?
Or whatever.
I was just gonna say. So yeah, had you gone nuts?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, she's disgraceful.
Yeah.
Like, why
would
she?
Have been so it's
You're
very.
Like, which one I can't please you.
Yeah, it's like, what are you looking at here? And it's unfortunate, because it does make me think before I do a video, I do want it perfect in a sense. And what should I do? What shouldn't I do that may cause some uproar? But at the end of the day, if I want to cause some uproar, I will, because it's my video. And
that's right.
It's interesting with the internet how, anything you do post, that should be fine.
Should be,
because it's your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever, and so it's just interesting to see other people's opinions on that.
I think it comes back to like, are you having fun? Does it bring you joy?
Right.
And if there's some combination of you having fun and bringing you joy, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. They can say what you want. You can press delete. You can block. and you can go back to like living your life and doing the things you like to do, and put out stuff when you want to put it out. I think that's just one of the crazy social pressures. Like it's interesting because like I remember being in a band years ago that we the conversation would come back to around like, well, how are we going to get signed, you know? And it was like, well, we have to make like really good music first. You know, so like we have to practice, right? So we did put the focus, and like there was a point where we were like 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Like the band would meet 5 days a week. Now we still smoked a lot of weed, so like it just we kind of counteracted that a little bit. So like it sounds really awesome on one hand. You're like, yeah, 5 days a week we're there, but like there was plenty of times where nobody brought weed, and band practice would cancel, you know, like this is early days, you know. It's like oh man, I'm not even gonna play tonight, you know. It's like, oh really, oh man, okay, so maybe it was partial band practice, maybe me and the drummer would play, but me and the drummer probably canceled band practice over weed before too. I think this is a lesson to you kids, like you don't do that, okay, because it's just not worth it. You should just play because you like to play. And that was ultimately what we had to learn through the grueling process of trying to be a band, which, oh my gosh, like if you want to learn about life and relationships, try to start a band.
Be in a band. Oh yeah.
Oh man, like all day, every day. It's like you're trying to have an intimate relationship with 4 or 5 other people.
It's
like a relationship.
We're saying it.
It's a boyfriend or girlfriend situation, you know. And
it definitely is. And I mean, you know, I found one of my greatest friends, and through that I realized I don't get along with some people, you know, and but in the end you do have to kind of smile and play the show. But yeah, it definitely teaches you a lot about, you know, communication and just being together and being so close to, especially if you're touring, and who is okay to be with, or you know, and
compromise too.
Right?
Like are you going to allow, are you the band leader and are you not going to allow compromise? Are you paying these people? Or is this a all for one for all, like democratic, like, well, I brought this part to the song and you brought this part to the song, and we all get paid fair, and like we all have fair say. Like these are all interesting. None of it is necessarily right. It's just like what's going to work for everyone, and because some people come to a band and they need to be told what to do. Right. They get like, just tell me.
I agree.
Tell me where to be. Am I in key of B minor? Okay, I'm there with you.
I'm there.
All right. These chords are here. The time signature. Fine. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
I got to be there at 3 p.m. Fine. But you ask them to do any, like, to set any of those parameters, and they just can't do it.
Yeah. So I've had that. I've had both experiences too, and it's funny. I just laugh at myself because sometimes I wish, I was thinking of this the other day. Funny you bring it up. I'm like, man, you know, wouldn't it be great if everyone would just get together and be in a band and jam it, and everyone would be cool with everything that's going on. Like your drummer could play whatever and you'd be cool with it, and bassist could think like, I thought of that. I was like, wouldn't that be great? But I'm such a perfectionist myself that I'm always going, hey, can we do this, or can we change this? And I'm like, I wish I could just let it go and be cool with whatever and have a fun show. But you're laughing because it's impossible.
No, I'm laughing also because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, being cool. Like drummers are great, right? But like no. I love you guys, and I love you, Jeremy, because I know you'll hear this. But no, like they shouldn't be in charge of the band most of the time. All right, like it's only because they have really great ideas that are very mathy and funky and cool, but they rarely completely translate to like the quality of the song in that way. I don't know. I'm not trying to hate on drummers.
No,
like,
we're not.
it's not a thing. I've just I've seen a lot of drummers that ended up taking control of, like, it's the drummer's band, and I'm like, no wonder I'm so bored. Like it's really interesting for drummers, but I'm like, but that's not. Just as a general listener, you know, you have to be the drum nerd or like the super prog fusion nerd to to kind of get it. Right. You know, where I still enjoy that type of stuff, the real heavy prog, like far out stuff. But I won't listen to it very often. It's not something I'm putting on to like drive in the car. Like I want something that has a chorus that's going to kick ass and take me somewhere.
Yeah, it's very interesting too. And even me too, you know, when people are listening to my music, or I do, you know, hand it over to them and they hear it, I go, look, and you've heard my songs, I'm like, this may be too heavy. Like, I don't know, to me, it sounds maybe not heavy enough, but it's jiving, it's cool. And so to somebody else, they're like, whoa, what's this? What's all this stuff going on here? It's too heavy. So it's very interesting to, I try to find a middle ground. Sometimes I can go too crazy, but it's just interesting to hear both sides. And you're right. Sometimes, not everyone would be cool with all of the riffs and stuff that maybe a drummer and just a guitar player would create, but there are actually a specific group of people who would love that.
Sure.
So yeah, it's very interesting, and I'm like, I try to appeal to a lot of people, but you can only do so much because I like rock. So rock and roll.
Rock is great, and that's one of the things I really like about you and your persona and the whole deal is that you're very much like you wear the rock and the Zeppelin and the feet, like it's all on the sleeve in it, but it all comes across very sincerely.
Oh, good.
And I feel like that's who Sydney is, and that's what I think that's what we want from anybody, really. Like as an artist, like it's like, hey, just be yourself. Like if that's who you are, then like show me.
Yeah.
Show what is it like to be you? Like give us the window. Like make a song that helps us understand that you grew up on Zeppelin and AC/DC, but like make it your own thing. Like just make it your own thing.
Yeah.
But I know that we're a little bit short on time.
We're fine.
But I want to ask you about like what you've been listening to lately or recently, and like maybe if you have 2 or 3 players or artists that you could share with us, and extra points for lesser known names,
Okay.
But don't feel like, oh, you have to come up with something like super esoteric.
I'm just trying to think who I have been listening to. That's a good question. Well, background, I know you're saying I'm very rock and roll, and that's in my heart, but I go all over. Like I have classical playing in the car. I've got, I grew up on funk, and so all of that stuff, I'm kind of all over the place. With just and I studied film music in school, and so cool. I love everything. Yeah. But I think that's a good thing because you can appreciate everything. But bands that I've been listening to, well, I don't know if you know, and this might be a little surprised. Do you know Sigrid?
Sigrid?
Sounds
familiar.
Sigrid. She's Norwegian, and she's actually really young. She's maybe 22, something like that. But she's touring now, and she just came out with an album, and I just found it very authentic. It's very pop oriented, but you can tell like she's kind of been inspired by Adele. You get kind of that vibe from it. But I just found it cool, and she has these really just poppy lyric lines and melodies that are singable. And when you're in the car, that's great to just sing along to. And you kind of hear her in the mall sometimes. And so I've been listening to her a little bit, just lyrically, and I always liked the electronic aspect of song forms. And I can kind of take that over to my stuff and think, oh, how do I want to, change up my songs to, maybe that would be a different way to think of putting a rock song versus a pop song form. And so, so I've been listening to her. Who else?
She primarily a vocalist?
She's a vocalist. Yes. Okay. I didn't say that yet.
That's okay.
She's a vocalist. I think she plays piano too, but it connected with me because she was very young and is very successful, obviously right now, being, touring and selling many albums. And I just found that to be cool. Just because that's awesome. You're so young and you're rocking it, and you seem so happy on stage. And so that's mainly what caught me. And, her songs are love songs and stuff like that.
And
but
you have a love in your life, and that's good.
It works.
You can relate.
It works. Yeah. But I just found it, I was like, well, I just thought it was badass in a sense that I'm like, you're 22, probably 22 still. And I'm like, that's awesome. You're playing in the mall right now. Like, that's cool.
That's way
and
cool.
So, I just thought that it was just very authentic. I got a sense. And so, so that's what I connected with Sigrid. And then, I'm trying to think, man, like I get stuck on AC/DC so much.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's cool. It's cool, man.
There's a certain thing like, so the classics never die. All right. Like, so let's just get that out of the way and say that when you talk about Zeppelin and Sabbath and AC/DC and Creedence, I mean, there's certain bands that just, if you're an American especially, like that kind of are woven into the fabric of our DNA, that like even if you don't know the names of the bands and stuff, they just, Tom Petty, like for me, like Tom Petty's like forever.
Oh yeah.
Like I can't, I mean, I don't know. this is something that when I hear his voice, I'm like, he's the man. Like, the music is good. The song coming for it.
Songwriting is just incredible. Like, and I have to say that Tom Petty was my first concert when I was a kid.
What?
And I had just started playing guitar. I remember I just started playing, and oh man, I tried to learn every single one of those songs before, and I was like, I knew every lyric. I was so stoked over that, and so yeah, very, very close to my heart, Tom Petty. And you're right, like, just songwriting is just spot on. Just
so spot on.
No, nothing crazy, but you know, it catches you, and everything is singable, and the lyrics you can catch on quickly. Like, is perfect.
Do you have a favorite era or album or like anything from Tom? Because he's got a big career. So
yeah. Oh man. Oh my gosh.
Anything stick out?
Oh, there's too many. Because I remember just learning all of those songs.
Like Full Moon Fever or like any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I think Running Down a Dream is super fun. That song. I love that song because it's just
doesn't get old.
It doesn't get old. It's cool. That riff is sweet and yeah. But yeah, I always think of Petty and just how just simple and just cool the songs were, and just nothing crazy.
I remember my dad. I remember seeing some of the some Tom Petty stuff on an early MTV in the '80s, you know, with my stepdad, and thinking he was cool. Because my dad idolized like ZZ Top and Tom Petty, T-Rex, of course Zeppelin, of course Hendrix, of course Sabbath. But like, this was the '80s, and Zeppelin and Sabbath were kind of strangely like old then in a way, because they weren't really super. They weren't there at that time, right? And but Petty was a real thing, and all those early tunes. But then, as I hit high school, Wildflowers came out, and that for whatever reason, like, that's my record.
Oh yeah,
like I can't not, like, and just not too long ago, I picked it up. I was tuning my guitar, and I was like, whoa, that's almost the riff from Honeybee. I'm like, hold on, YouTube, what's the riff to Honeybee? Oh, that's such a simple song. I want to jam that song hella bad right now. So I started, but that one, like the da-na-na-na-na, like that just like is so heavy to me. It's like mind blowing. like it's all, to me, it's almost as cool as Meshuggah. To me, like to be able to just learn that super simple thing. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Music's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. And even like I love a lot of the Jack White stuff, just how simple, you know, he just goes for a simple riff and then breaks into some chorus and comes back to that one string riff. Like, that's cool. And that's all it, you know, all it should be. We think of all these complicated stuff, but man, like, I think of him as like one of the guys who just goes for that simple riff and can run with it. And, you know, like Seven Nation Army, it's like, man,
satisfying, man. Satisfying. That's the thing. I the more I've evolved with music and matured, because I was very much like, when I first was super into metal, like in my early 20s, like late teens, whatever. I was very like, thought of myself as very highbrowed, and like my music, so much more complex and interesting than all your top 40 crap. You know, and then I worked in music stores for many years too. So I was like a CD buyer for a metal section, and like I was like not that smart of a person, to be honest.
I think we all have gone through that too. I've been through that, where you have to say, man, classic rock is the best, and then you realize too, you know, it's just whatever's good for the song, you know. And when I take it to my own stuff, I'm like, what's going to be good for the song? Does this bridge thing take us away from what we want to say, or does it help? Right. And if it takes away, get rid of it, you know? And so same thing too, coming back to Jack White, he would just, what fits the song, you know?
What keeps it going, what keeps it, and I think, I think that maybe part of the appeal, and I was just like, this is just a thought, is that part of the appeal for something that's repetitious in that way. Not only do we learn the chorus like sooner, and the like the psychological aspect of like getting to the chorus within 30 seconds.
Or I've heard all that.
This type of things, which I'm not necessarily an advocate for. I'm with you. Whatever works, and like whatever is like getting your point across, or your message, or your whatever you're feeling. I'm into it, even if it's breaking all the rules. I'm super. Right. Please do that. Right. But I think that part of why like the best stuff, or the most popular stuff, is the stuff that is kind of easily remembered too, is that in cycles we're able to, like, life is cyclical, and we keep coming around to the same things, and we come up with different seemingly different problems, but they're always masked. It's kind of the same problems,
Right.
You know, and so that's why like the same love songs and the same breakup songs, the same like hateful songs in a like weird way, always kind of like they get rewritten.
Yep.
In just by different people having a similar experience over and,
it all
over
works,
and over.
yeah,
again.
and it all works too. And I think yeah, and I, Moxie and I work together and we do just acoustic shows together for fun, and we end up playing a lot of those pop songs.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I do actually love all the pop stuff simply because it grabs you so quickly, and that's the job of a pop song and something that's played on the radio so often, is to catch you and make you want to listen to that song again and again and again. And I think as musicians, we have a different like approach to it. We have a different thought process versus if you have never played a note in your life, you don't know why the song is so cool, but you love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you want to jump up and down during that chorus? Because here's why, because of the kick. And so I find that stuff interesting when I do listen to pop music. It's like, why does that song sound so cool at that point? Because that synth is just rolling with this, this beat, and that's why you love it so much. So I don't know. I used to have that same vibe of like, oh, rock and roll is the only thing that's cool and that's all that's good. But then once I broke away from that, you can kind of take away different aspects of what's good in each different genre, whether we like it or not. There's some music I'm not a fan of, but
True.
As anybody, you can take something away from it.
I think the easy one for a lot of people is like, oh, I don't really like country music, like especially West Coasters. I mean, that are urban, right? Like urban West. There's a lot of country fans on the West Coast. They're just usually more rural. They usually live close to where there's cows and sheep and horses, right? My mom is one of them. But I found there's good music in Nashville. There's good music in country. It's a funny place where it's like got this mishmash of like big top 40 pop and hip hop and like 80s rock all smashed into like a twangy country voice. It's like, what? Okay, hey, you guys are allowed to evolve too, right? Like I part of me, like the first instinct is like, you can't do that,
right?
But wait, that's stupid. Why would I say that?
Right, yeah,
because people said that to people doing hip hop and rap in the early days and metal. Like, oh, it's too abrasive. You're gonna hurt people's ears, and everybody's like, fuck yeah. They get super like, oh, like they actually are responding to this. This is interesting. So the pioneers, they do stuff that that even some of us that are like very open-minded will go, oh, I don't know about that. Like Jack White's kind of also like he's on an interesting pioneer as well, right? Like in some of these different producers that when they first put stuff out, and you're like, I don't want to like that. Mm-hmm. Oh wait, well then that's almost like the surefire like sign that you're gonna love it at some point. It's like you're like, I don't want to like that. That's stupid. He's doing it's cliche. Oh, yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. I can't stop. I can't get it out of my head now.
Even me too. People laugh. They're like, why do you listen to all the pop stuff? I'm like, yeah, at first you go, oh, I've heard this song too many times because you're passing through on the radio, you hear it. But then you listen to it and you're like, yeah, this chorus is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And somebody spent probably a lot of time working on that. And I'm like, this is kind of catchy. Like, what's that melody line again? And I just could like to be, open-minded about it too. And especially, at first you're like, oh no, this one. And then you realize it's kind of cool.
And you find out too, as a musician, and because again, in my naivete in early years, I thought, oh, pop music is too simple. Like I could write pop music super easy. I thought I equated simple with easy, right? And that's a young person's thing, right? Generally, they're like, oh, it's simple. Well, that's actually the simple part. Is the magic is that there's not so much shit in there, right? It being easy is not necessarily the case to write the simple thing, because so much of our life as like and in competitive aspects, like in what we kind of talked about earlier, like in competition, if you can be more complex, or you can say bigger words, or you can express yourself in a way that is more flashy, then you're perceived as being quote unquote better, right? But when you get to music and you get to conveying ideas in such a way, really simple is better. Like especially because if I can communicate with you in a simple way, that means a lot of people can understand what we're talking about as we communicate. Versus if I'm very complicated in every nuance and how I tend to try to get my point across, it will get lost so much easier, right? And it has to grow on you, and you have to study it. But that's kind of the hard one thing that metal people and prog people love.
We love it.
They're like, oh yeah, make it really kind of like almost where I can't understand it, and then I have to dig for the meaning.
Yeah, and we all fight over what the meaning is.
And I'm pretty sure he's talking about this. Oh no.
No, he's talking about this.
You know, that was a certain year that he was going through that, so he couldn't have been talking about this. Like what? Like,
right.
But that's part of the fun. But I digress. Like the simple things aren't necessarily the easiest.
Right.
And there it's a Zen art to kind of create the simple sounding yet catchy, song and
something
hook.
singable and hook and that's always hard because you're like, what's the hook gonna be? And you hope it is a hook, even though you think it is. You hope people, hear it as a hook too. And so, yeah, it's just very interesting, just songwriting, and in general, like what could grab a certain audience. But I'm excited. I'm hoping everything turns out great for the EP.
It's gonna be great.
I'm sure it'll be great, but it's happening. I know a lot of people have been asking me, but it's still happening. It's just a slow process. You have to.
No, take your time.
Right.
You've had your whole life to do the first one. After that, they're going to expect it more regularly.
Oh, no.
So just take your time on this one. We're running out of time for you, but I wanted to ask you real quick before we finish. Did you have any other artists that you wanted to share, or would you like to just share maybe your top 3 players of all time? I know you could say that.
Oh man, I'm trying to. I know I should have thought of this because I'm always blanking when people ask me top 3 players.
It could be just being inspired by now. It doesn't have to be top 3 of all time. Be like, who are you being like? Is there any instrumental tracks or players that you'd be like, I just I always put this on because I'm still always kind of trying to get something out of it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean we talked about him, but Zakk Wylde is top.
Yeah.
You just and he practices so much still. You can tell. He's got his coffee and he's got his guitar ready. You're like, okay, you're beating us all. You woke up and practiced this morning, and I find that as a guitar player, very inspiring to just see that. And go, man, I should get off my butt and play because he's already a master and he's still working at it.
That's right.
Which is it's cool to see, and it's a reminder that it's lifelong. It's lifelong. Other players, I'm totally blanking. Yeah, I can't really.
Any other fellow female players that you'd like?
There's too many. There's too many.
I know you're friends with a lot of them.
I'm friends with all of them. I'm gonna miss a couple names.
Yeah.
There's Jen of Evanescence. There's Gretchen.
Oh yeah.
Stephanie. Who else? Oh my gosh. There's Emily.
Emily who?
Emily Ruvidich, I think. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's fantastic, very, very sweet. I kind of laugh because we're like the same person.
Okay.
So we're just about the same person. We get along so well. And then, oh my gosh, I'm gonna miss too many names.
Don't feel pressure. That's good. I found one right there. Emily.
There you go.
I don't know her, so I'll look her up and we'll put her in the playlist.
Emily's great. And then, I mean, I'm trying. There's Nita. There's Courtney. There's man.
There's all the
Sorry
great players.
if I missed you.
No, you're fine.
I'm put on the spot, guys.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and hang out and have the conversation with me. This has been Players Pick Podcast, episode number 24 with Sydney Ellen. Thank you.
See ya.
Players Pick Podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chris Johnson. Pool table.
This episode of Players Pick Podcast has been brought to you by our good friends at Jim Dunlop Guitar Products, Kiesel Custom Guitars, Mackie Headphones and Mixers. Sound design by Drew of the Drew, and voiceovers by the lovely Minnie Joe. I have been your host, Chris Johnson. Until next time.